shout out to all of you who are still here. If all of you have a video that you want me to react to, send it to either my email address or my Instagram account. Or if you, better off, if you really want, then, do a Cash App and send me a link. I mean, I will expeditiously react to it. But in any case, today we have a video of a brother here who left America and has decided to never move back. And this is a heartwarming story, especially for a well-spoken brother. This is the kind of dude, and I emphasize dude, not yo, who. This is a dude like me and dudes like you, regardless of race, who decided that, hey, I'm done with America. I've seen enough of America. I'm out. And he'll explain why.
As I film this video, it is July 4th, 2025, also known as Independence Day back home in America. And I feel like this is literally the perfect time to film this video because I don't think there's ever been a point in my life where I have felt this free and independent. You probably can't see it in the background because it's already nighttime, but I am filming this video from Pattaya, Thailand.
We see nothing.
I've only been here for about a week and a half, so we're still kind of settling in. But I've already determined, and I kind of already knew this before I even went back to America to visit recently, but I kind of already determined a while back that I would not be moving back to the US. Won't be moving back to the US. I have no intention, no desire to go back to the US because for as much as the US markets itself as the best country or the wealthiest country or the land of the free, home of the brave, etc., I just don't see it.
Hey, and to be honest, a lot of people are starting to wake up to that. A lot of people, particularly in America, are starting to wake up to that. And I'm not just talking about people who've traveled overseas and have come back to America. I'm talking about people who've never stepped foot outside of the U.S. They are realizing that the marketing machine that is America or was America, at best was or is an antiquated advertisement from, I don't know, the 90s, 80s. And to be honest, I would say those 2 decades are probably the best decades in American history, in my opinion, and I'm speaking as a black American right now. If you are a non-black American, you might include the 50s through the 90s. That's fair. That's fine. But I'm just saying, for me personally, we really only had 2 decades, and only one of which was really, I would say, really universally beneficial for all in the 90s. But the 80s, if you were in the suburbs, yeah, the 80s and 90s, great times. But yeah, the marketing that is America, a lot of people are seeing past through it.
I don't see where the reality lives up to the way it markets itself. And in this video, I want to talk about why I decided to take the leap of faith and leave the US to live in a third world country. But before we talk about why I chose Thailand.
And to be fair, Thailand, I gotta correct this dude. Thailand's not really a third world country. Even where you are in Pattaya, I know there are a lot of third world minded passport bros who are claiming, oh, we're going to Pattaya to look for traditional women in Pattaya. In Pattaya. I like Russ. Anyway, Thailand is a developing country, and I'm not sure if Pattaya is the only place that he's seen. And to be honest, if he's only seen Pattaya, then I sort of don't blame him for that faux statement. But wait until you see Bangkok. I'm just going to leave it at that.
First, we need to talk about why I left the US to begin with. So basically, 2018, I met this girl from the Netherlands, and we were friends for a few years. 2022, we fell in love with each other, and 2023, I visited her in Europe. I fell in love with Europe as well, and...
By the way, shout out to the SYSBM guys. We got an SYSBM dude here. He got some Danish... Danish... What do you call Danish food? Anyway.
Beginning of 20...
No, Danish is Denmark. Dutch. Dutch is another one. So yeah, he was eating Dutch every night.
24, I moved to Europe, the Netherlands specifically, to be with her. And once...
Oh, yeah, he really loved the Dutch. He really loved eating Dutch every night. I'm just going to leave it at that.
I touched down in the Netherlands and got a chance to really experience...
As much as she loved eating chocolate.
...what life was like out there, not just as a tourist or
traveler,
traveler, but as an actual resident. I realized that life was categorically better in Europe than it was in the US. Now, I proceeded to spend the next 14 months of my life living in the Netherlands. And I probably would have continued being there, or maybe have gone directly from the Netherlands to Thailand had it not been for my sister's wedding. So basically...
All right, so when it comes to being in Europe versus the United States, I'm going to say this. As an...
My sister...
All right, yeah, we have to get a better picture of it. So, me, I, for transparency, just came back from Germany, and was it better than the U.S.? In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. But I can disaggregate, for lack of a better term, or basically contextualize on the reason why I felt Germany in some instances was overrated. Because for starters, you're hearing like every other person and their dog saying, "Oh, the brothers loved in Germany." We're liked. I'm just gonna keep it at that. When it comes to women, we are liked. We're not loved like we used to be, but we're liked. I'll just leave it at that. But more importantly, when it comes to living, if you are a German, yes, it is easier. Life is easier to live if you are middle class or even working class, or in some cases, even poor. But if you aspire to be a business owner, if you aspire to make a good amount of money, I'm talking about like above 100,000 euros, if you aspire to have your own business, then yeah, you're better off coming to America, or at the very least another country, even within Europe, that is more business friendly. But when it comes to your basic needs being taken care of, having not to own a vehicle, particularly if you live in cities or even some mid-sized areas, some mid-sized towns, you'll be all right. Going to and from work at least. Yeah, Europe has you covered. Now, compared to Asia, Europe's in the Stone Ages.
Got engaged to her boyfriend at the time, and they ended up having a wedding recently. I think it was June 9th or June 8th, something like that, of this year. So my girlfriend and I flew to the US to attend the wedding, and because we were there for 3 months, we also decided to take the opportunity to travel across the US, because I felt like, hey, maybe it's a bit unfair for me to judge the US in blanket statement terms if I haven't even seen a good portion of it. Well, now that I've seen around 40 out of 50 states, I can confidently say that all of the things I previously said about the US are not only true, but they are completely fortified in my mind now. Because whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, South, Mountain West, doesn't matter. A lot of America's weaknesses apply nationwide. And the biggest...
And to be honest, from my East to West Coast journey, I have noticed differences, and there are still some nuances, but to be honest, the weaknesses is becoming a bit more apparent. I mean, especially, I don't know if it was COVID, I don't know if it was Orange Man, or who was before Orange Man, who was after Orange Man, I don't know. But I have noticed that there is more of a corporatization, a metastasizing of all these parts of the country into one, and it's not for the better, honestly.
Biggest weakness of all, in my opinion and in my experience, is the cost of living, especially relative to the quality of life. You see, you can't be expensive and also provide a bad experience. If you go to a restaurant where they're charging you $100 a plate and the food doesn't taste very good, or it's mediocre at best, you're not going to want to go back to that restaurant. And I feel like that is what America is. America is a very expensive restaurant where the food isn't really that good. It's all hype, it's all marketing, and maybe you have celebrities substantiating the idea that this restaurant is the place to be, but you actually go there, you try the food, and it's not that good. And if you've never tried any other food from any other restaurant, then you might have just accepted the fact that this food is worth the price. But when you go to a place like the Netherlands, where maybe it's $85 a plate, but the food is 2 times better, you realize that you never want to eat at that first restaurant ever again. Now,
yeah, and besides the cost of living, I think, so when he's saying that you're paying high prices for mediocre food, well, now he means this as a double entendre now, which now with the inflation, yeah, you are paying more to get less. Not just when it comes to food, not when it just comes to services, not when it just comes to products, whatever America makes. Which is still, well, where are those factory jobs? I thought Trump was going to bring factory jobs back. Yeah, anyway, well, yeah, we do see them coming back, apparently. I take that back. He is bringing them back. But it seems like Americans are barely being hired. You saw what happened recently with the freaking crackdown with Samsung, and it's like 500 Koreans. It's either that or they're bringing in AI. And anyway, that's a whole nother subject for another day. But yeah, whether it's services, food, or just the people, you are paying top dollar to live in places where the average American now is just a dick. I hate to say this, but maybe it's just me living here, but the driving has gotten atrocious. And not to say that all people are dicks, no, but there has been a rise of people who are just dickish for no reason. Or, okay, somewhat of a reason, but dickish at me or any other random person? I mean, be dickish at the people who caused your problems.
I'm talking a lot about the Netherlands. I haven't really talked much about Thailand because ultimately we still want to live in the Netherlands, and I'll touch more on our future plans later on in this video. But if the Netherlands is $85 a plate and 2 times as good as the first restaurant, Thailand is $25 a plate and about 85 to 100% as good as the first restaurant. So even if the food still isn't particularly great, definitely not as good as the hypothetical Dutch restaurant. I hope this analogy isn't too hard to follow, but basically the food is much, much cheaper, 25% of the price, and it's still on par with the quality of the first restaurant. Not nearly on par with the quality of the second restaurant, but it's so much cheaper that it doesn't really matter. That is the main reason why we decided to move to Thailand. Financial freedom.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and if you can't follow the analogy, which I'm sure most of the people who are watching this channel are following it, he's basically saying you're paying top dollar in America for mediocre at best services, or just mediocre at best people. Whereas going to the Netherlands, yeah, you're paying more, but you're getting a multiple of services and people. Trust me, I've been to Amsterdam, and it is one of my favorite cities in Europe for multiple reasons. I mean, I've never felt as free as I have in Amsterdam, honestly. I've never felt as unjudged as I have. There are a few other places that I can say that I've had that feeling of being unjudged in Amsterdam. And to be honest, yeah, I lived in Germany. I would take Netherlands any day of the week over Germany. I'm sorry. Yeah. Hell, there's some other places I would take, like Poland, maybe. But I meant Portugal. That's what I meant. But what he's saying is when you go to Southeast Asia, places like Thailand, you can throw in the Philippines and even Vietnam these days, yeah, you may get the same quality as the States, but at the very least you are paying more of a fair market value for the mediocre service. Or hell, you might even get an above average service. I wouldn't even say mediocre. I'd say above average service. You're paying in America, basically, you're paying A prices for C quality, C, D quality. In Europe, you're paying A plus prices for A plus quality, or at the very least A quality. In Southeast Asia, you're paying C level prices, D level prices for C plus, B minus, B average level quality. But in East Asia, you're paying, I'd say, B level quality for A plus service. I mean, he hasn't been to East Asia, but that's just my little input.
I mentioned earlier that I feel freer than I felt in a long time, and I stand by that. I have not felt this free, financially speaking, maybe ever, or at least since I left my parents' house when I was 21 years old. I feel very, very free, and the cool thing is I'm in a unique position where I can take my income wherever I go. A lot of Americans, unfortunately, do not have this opportunity because either their jobs are location dependent, or even if they work remotely, their employers don't allow them to actually live in different time zones or in different countries simply because it complicates the tax structure of the company and you quickly become a liability. I'm in a position where I make my money from doing this, from speaking to a camera, and I can do that literally anywhere as long as I have a decent internet connection. So I'm in a very blessed position because I can basically arbitrage the difference in the cost of living between the US and Thailand because I make money in US dollars. Now, we've seen...
All right, and what he's talking about, in short, is geo arbitrage, which is something is going to be big in the latter part of this decade and in the 2030s, to be honest, because, yeah, he does touch on the... How should I say this? He touches on the ostensible reason on why a lot of companies don't allow people to work overseas. But to be honest, I think the tax liability thing is just a front for a lot of boomers just wanting control and not wanting the office market to collapse. And they use the tax liability and the security thing, particularly if you work for tech. It's like, hey, we can't have you working in any country in the world because, hey, what happened? You get hacked or something like that. Or your computer gets stolen. Yeah, those things can happen, but those things can happen here in the States just as easily, and probably not more. And but once these boomers get out the way, you're going to see a lot of geo arbitraging from anyone who can work on the computer.
A recent devaluation of the US dollar, so I'm hoping that trend kind of dies down. But either way, I also have euros, so I'm good. I'm basically good. And my girlfriend, she will be good as well. Just to be transparent, right now she's in a position, without putting all of her business out there, where she is still building up her business because she basically wants to have the same freedom. She wants to have the same freedom where she can make money in euros wherever she is. And
if you're making money in euros, let me tell you something. The euro right now is basically $1.15, or not 15, $1.10. I won't say. Is it $1.10 or $1.15? Anyway, €1 can get you $1.15. Basically, $1 only gets you 85 euros. So yeah, shout out to your girlfriend.
she's actually already gotten monetized on YouTube.
Oh.
But YouTube is a marathon, not a sprint. So it takes time to build this up. You don't just up and decide, hey, I'm going to start a YouTube channel so I can make money online and move to Thailand and live in this resort with a pool for $400 a month. It doesn't work that way. It takes time to build that up. And so I wanted to put both of us in a position where I could support both of our living expenses and give her the longest possible runway to build her business the right way. Because sometimes you can take shortcuts to build your business, but it always backfires in the long run. So basically, I know that she has the intelligence, the talent, and the work ethic to actually make YouTube a reliable source of income for herself. She just needs time. And I'm basically taking my money and trading it for time because I see it as an investment in both of our futures. So that's kind of the biggest reason why, is because this is one of the countries where we can still enjoy a nice quality of life, where it still feels safe because it really is safe. We can enjoy some material pleasures and luxuries that we couldn't really enjoy or indulge in the Netherlands or the US because it's so much more expensive there. And I can just provide for both of us on my income while she builds her income. And eventually, when she gets her income up to the same level as mine, or maybe even exceeds mine, who knows? Then we have two incomes, and we can continue doing this and stacking our bread into oblivion.
Oh, man. That right there, this dude just told you the strategy on how to free yourself. And anyone can use the strategy. Anyone who knows how to put a camera on and then make videos to make money like this dude is doing. Or just doing any sort of job from your laptop, from your computer, hell, from even your phone. If you can do that, and to the point where you are providing for your woman alongside enjoying some materialistic things, just a little bit, because apparently boomers have basically told the millennials especially that, oh, you guys can't afford homes because not because of the Federal Reserve printing money and doing quantitative easing, not because they shipped out jobs to other countries where we barely save money when it comes to getting the end product finished from the other side of the world. No, not because BlackRock and all these other companies are buying houses. It's because you all love avocado toast too much. And you all order from Amazon too much. And you all have too many subscriptions to streaming services. Now, that part's true. That part is true. These corporations with these streaming services, they're getting out of hand. Now, there are ways around it. There are ways around it. I'm just going to say that.
Now, what happens once we both reach a point where we're making really, really good money from YouTube? Where we're making a livable wage, at least from YouTube, between the two of us? Basically, the long-term idea is we spend the rest of our 20s not necessarily living in Thailand, but living in countries similar to Thailand. So maybe Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, the Philippines, Colombia, other South American countries, places in maybe Eastern Europe. Just basically traveling to...
Poland? Hungary? Croatia? Was it Romania? Shh, be quiet. Bulgaria? Shh, be quiet. Estonia, the Baltic...
all of these low cost of living countries, rotating and allowing ourselves to live the materially luxurious lifestyles while also saving our money at the same time, with the ultimate goal of moving back to the Netherlands whenever we decide to start a family, if we decide to have children or anything like that. But whether we have children or not, at around 30 to 32 years old, we would like to be back in the Netherlands where we would settle down, quote unquote. And I don't know if we'll want to settle down per se, but we'll at least have the option and the opportunity because we'll have so much money saved up. So the way I see it in my head is we don't have to make a whole lot of money to make this happen. If we can save stringently and strategically throughout these next 5 to 7 years by arbitraging the difference in the cost of living in countries like Thailand with the amount of money we'll make in US dollars and or euros, basically, by the time we get to the Netherlands, we should have enough money to not just put a down payment on a house, but to buy a house cash. Now, maybe I'm being a bit idealistic, but again, the plan checks out in my head. And if I can, again, put us in a position with my income to allow her the runway to get her business up and running where it can sustainably make money, we're going to be in a great position. Now, finances aside, why did we choose to, let's say, for example, move to a country that we never previously visited instead of maybe doing van life in, I don't know, America or the Netherlands or elsewhere?
Well, before he goes on to the explanation of why he chose Thailand randomly, which, if you were listening to the videos, I mean, yeah. This guy has his head on his shoulder. This guy is a thinking man. This guy is what passport bros. This is what you all need to aspire to be. None of this trying to live out a hip hop fantasy of I'll go club. We just go clubbing. We just chilling. We vibing. We doing this. We doing that thing. We do hey. Keep that urban crap in the States. And if you want to keep that hip hop culture, stay your ass back in the States. This is the kind of men we need, regardless of race, but especially black men. These are the kind of brothers we need to have overseas. These are the kind of brothers that we need to be, or that need to be the face of quote unquote passport bros. None of this urban crap.
Aside from the fact that we just have a better lifestyle here for the money, we also wanted to broaden our horizons. So I'm from America, she's from the Netherlands. She's a lot more well-traveled than I am, but generally the places she's seen are in Europe. So they're still developed, advanced nations, some more than others, but generally they're all developed first world nations. My travel experience is less extensive. Obviously, there's America. I've been to Mexico. I've been to Turks and Caicos. But in Mexico, we stayed at the resort. Turks and Caicos, we went off of the resort a little bit. And that, for me, was one of the most enriching experiences of my life. At the age of, I think, 11 or 12, going with my aunt to Turks and Caicos and being able to see how the locals were living. It really put life and the way that I was living back home in America into perspective for me. And ever since then, I've really become preoccupied with this idea of broadening my horizons. When I was 18 years old, actually pretty shortly before I initially met my girlfriend online, I traveled to New York City for the first time. And I was so broke, I probably had $400 to my name. I was so broke that I couldn't afford accommodation. So I went on this website called couchsurfing.com and I basically arranged to stay with this random lady in Brooklyn with all of these other guests who were all staying for free, with the stipulation that we all cleaned the apartment once a week or something like that. So, because I was only there for 4 days, we only had to clean one time. Cool, perfect. Now, when I got there were all of these people in the room, and they were all from different places. They were from places that I had never heard of, and most certainly had never visited. And I remember there was one particular day during my trip where I was waiting outside of the apartment because the host wasn't home, and I needed her to unlock the door. And one of the other guests came up to the stoop outside of the apartment.
Oh, Stoop Kid. Never leave Stoop. Shout out to Stoop Kid.
And sat with me. And we started...
Stoop Kid left the stoop.
Talking. And basically it was this girl who, in her face, she looked Asian. She had Asian facial features. But her skin was like that of a Caucasian person. And it really threw me off because I had never seen someone who looked like her. So I kind of assumed that maybe she was mixed. But as I began talking to her...
I bet she's going to be from the Caucasus, like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan. It's going to be one of the stands, those stands. I bet. Let's bet money.
She told me she was from Kazakhstan.
Who's right? Always bet on X.
Taken aback because I had never heard of Kazakhstan. I didn't know that was a place. And why am I telling you this long-winded story? I'm telling you this because I'm addicted to the feeling of turning the unfamiliar into the familiar. So moving to a place like Thailand, and I say moving very loosely because, again, we're not necessarily going to stay and settle in Thailand. We're going to rotate between Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, etc., etc.
And if you see this, brother, if you stay in Thailand even temporarily, Especially since you have a girlfriend, don't do Pattaya, dude. Stick to Bangkok. Especially if you're business minded and you want to network with people who are more business minded and business savvy. Move to Bangkok. That is a very international city. That honestly reminds me of. If there's any city that reminds me of Bangkok, well, actually, you have Manila, you have Kuala Lumpur, you have Jakarta, you have probably what Tokyo and Osaka were back in the day, especially Osaka. For those who know. But yeah, I'll be honest, Osaka reminds me of like the first world equivalent of Bangkok for historical reasons. But if you want to move to a city that fits more along the lines of what I'm suspecting you're trying to do, definitely do Bangkok. You won't regret it.
But coming to a place like Thailand, where neither of us had previously been here before, that feeling of stepping off of the plane and stepping out of the airport and getting in the taxi and just looking out of the window on that 2 hour drive from Bangkok to Pattaya in the middle of the night, that's a feeling that we're going to keep with us for the rest of our lives. And I'm really glad that I got the chance to share that feeling with her in that moment.
And to be honest, yeah, that is a feeling that, for those who know. It's sort of like in those RPG games where the map, if you have a map, the places that you haven't gone to are basically shrouded in blank or mystery or clouds or whatnot. But when you travel to those locations, they are permanently and eternally unclouded. Like, yeah, and you know where, what place you've been to. It's sort of like that kind of feeling. I know exactly the kind of feeling he has.
Because I feel like that not only helps you discover more of yourself, but it helps you unlock a different level of depth in your relationship. So we are going to be in Thailand for the next 3 months, and after that, we're just going to go wherever the wind takes us. But eventually, at some point, that wind is going to take us back to the Netherlands.
Hey, shout out to this guy, and hopefully, wherever the wind takes you, I wish you nothing but the best, nothing but success, and nothing but sweet Dutch every dinner before you have dessert, or good dinner and Dutch desserts. Any stop. Jordan Green is his name. Go check out his channel. He uploaded this a few months ago, and this is the kind of travelers that I like to see do well. Hell, these are the kind of travelers I like to see, period, regardless of race. But especially brothers, especially with these recent incidents of just people who look like us crashing out, or just people who look like us being mediocre, or just being goofy, or just making their travel about girls, game. I got struck out in a city I barely stayed in, or I'm tricking. You see, I went all the way to the place I dreamed about, and you know what I did? I didn't check out the culture stuff. I didn't try speaking a sentence in their language. I just tricked. How much, baby? How much? We don't need that crap. We need men like him and others who actually have real life experience, who aren't goofballs, who aren't tricks. And the goofballs and tricks aren't even the worst. They aren't even worse. Let them live. We may roast them eventually, but we'll let them live. It's just the crash outs and the baby's kids. I'm like, get your ass back to America, or at the very least, stay in one of those countries that actually doesn't want to build and doesn't want to develop and just wants everyone else to do their work, and they want to live under superstition and extreme religion. But in any case, you see that this guy has a plan, a goal, and a woman right beside him. And to be honest, if we can follow this model, if you follow this model, hell, if I follow this model, we would be much better off, not just representing black men overseas, not just representing Americans overseas, but just having better success regardless of where we are. Everyone else always bet on X.